Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. This is Saju here from HDFC Securities, and today we have a very interesting topic for discussion, which is decoding the investment psychology. So, to help us with this topic, we have Usha Nair, Senior Vice President and Head of Distribution with DSP Mutual Fund. So, a warm welcome, Usha ma'am.
Thank you, Saju.
Yeah. You can go ahead, ma'am, with that.
Thank you. Thank you to all. Hope all of you are safe and well and able to keep good health and going forward too. On that note, let's start a small topic, which we will try to address in the next couple of minutes. It's a very deep and well-researched study as far as investing behavior is concerned, decoding investment psychology. And it's not something that there is a solution or a way to manage it. The most important part, and I'll share more inputs about it as we go along, is to be aware of these investing behaviors that we demonstrate as individuals. And therefore, when we are encountering them, how do you manage them? What we say is usually, you always think finance is more about how much of correct investments you made, which good stocks did you buy, at how much of money did you invest, etc. But a lot of examples we will show to begin with, which says personal finance is more about personal than finance. It's less to do with finance because the interest rate that we can get, the stocks that we can buy, the options that are available are more or less the same. Then why do some people succeed and why do some do not succeed at investing journey? So it's more to do with personal behavior, and which is why the topic investing psychology or investment behavior, behavioral finance, there are different words or nomenclature that we use to explain this concept. Now, this is an example of, and it's something that we can relate to in the sense it's not too way back. It happened in 2002 and we are in 2020. So this is something that has happened in about 18 years back, which all of us can visualize. There was this guy called Andrew Jack Whitaker who won an astronomical amount of $314 million US dollars. And it was the first jackpot ever won by an American individual, the highest at that point of time. And I'm sure there are many ways in which this game is played, etc. But he basically chose the cash option, which is $113 million is what he got. And after 18 years, I mean, in about 10 or 12 years, this gentleman went bankrupt. And if I remember the different articles that are written on him very correctly, because different people have written different things. That's why I'm saying if I'm right, he sort of ended his life. So you just wonder that you make $300 million. Maybe it was lottery, it was luck, it was fortune, but you in 15 years or 12 years, you basically blew up the whole amount. So this was, and you can see the date of the check, him being handed it over. All of that is visible there. It's a very well-known image. If you Google the name, you'll see this. And this is someone whom we again have all probably watched him play, seen him, admired his style of the game, etc., etc. The first unseeded guy to win a Wimbledon, all of that happened. And we know tennis as a sport, like in India, cricket, some of the stars, it's a very well-paying sport. It's not a sport that you don't make money because you do win prize money, you get a lot of advertising endorsements, you become a brand ambassador for many products, and all of that, he was declared bankrupt or he filed for bankruptcy. So one example that I showed was of a lottery, luck, fortune, somebody who won lottery, but it was not a small amount of, in today's Indian terms, if you say 5 lakh, 4 lakh, 10 lakhs, no, it was a few millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, which is fairly large amount of money. And then there is someone who has been a star sportsman, and sports is about discipline. I mean, you don't win a Grand Slam tournament without being disciplined, without being practicing. So you expect that these things, which are very important when it comes to investing, is there with them. But then there is someone who, had to get declared bankrupt. So two examples, and hence investing is very, very personal. The third one that you see, again, very familiar stories of our own legendary Indians that we have come across, either in the field of business or in the field of cricket or in the field of academics, or in the field of Bollywood, the film industry. Someone who started by selling a detergent powder, Nirma, and then he became a legendary, businessman. And so this is rags to riches. The MDH spice. I mean, he basically drove a tanga in Delhi to earn a living, and from there you become someone. Dhirubhai Ambani story is known. Rajinikanth, who was a carpenter, bus driver, bus conductor, and coolie, and becomes a popular film actor. Now, this is not about the acting part alone. The concept is they also make money in the process. Now, all of us who are part of this call, we don't want to be either of the two. You don't want to be bankrupt. You don't want to be a Boris Becker, because many of us don't, many of us, almost 95, 99% of us don't make that kind of money. We probably won't be doing businesses the way Gulati ji has done, or Patel ji has done, or an Ambani has made an empire. We may not do that. We may not become Amitabh Bachchan's or Rajnikant's, but we do have income, we do have savings, and we aspire to have a reasonably good living. So why are these two extreme examples shown at the beginning of the presentation? I wanted to share this to set the context of what you need to understand, that it is important to know that it is not about whether you get the right stock idea from HDFC Securities, or whether you go and do a PMS, or you buy the best mutual fund. It is all about, as a person, as an individual, like in everything in life, how do I manage my money? What is my approach to money management? That makes all the difference in the making money. When you say making money, I don't mean making money from the profession. That is something that is a given. I mean, it's the money that we make from the profession that we choose to do, and then saving, investing, and growing. That is what is the topic or the concept that we talk about, personal finance. I mean, we are not here to help somebody to grow their profession. That is something that you're doing. And through the profession, the money that you're making, the investing that you can do from that, the wealth that you can create is equally personal and very peculiar to each individual, and it is not about the rules or the information that is available. Now, some of the investing behaviors, we call them biases in our language. In investing language, we say they are investing biases. Now, when I say the word bias, it gives a very negative feeling. Oh no, I'm not biased. I mean, if somebody tells me you're a biased person, my first reaction would be, no, hey, no, I'm not biased. Why do you say so? Right? And then they would show some examples, like, see, this is the way you reacted when I made this comment. This is what you said. So you are biased, or you seem to be biased, right? So we don't really like to be called, biased, because it gives a feeling of being partial, being not logical, being not rational. And we use this terminology both in personal life and in professional life. The manager is biased to this person. Somebody is biased to a particular, kind of behavior, or somebody is biased to people from particular region or clan or community or whatever it is. So all these conversations at home, we will say, okay, the parents are biased to the boy child, the girl child, all these conversations we have. So we don't like that word, but it is there in our behavior. All of us, if we sit and pause and ponder for 5 minutes, we know we are biased about many things, and therefore we also carry our biases when it comes to investing decisions. Now, what is the biggest news that's prevailing today? In fact, the reason that we are able to do on a Thursday evening a webinar, and many of you, of course, I'm aware that HDFC does this very often, but today probably more people will attend it. We would have more participation because people are working from home, and you have the time or the ability to attend. Due to this one problem, one small, puny little virus called COVID-19, which has been, breaking havoc across the world. Now, the first case that got reported was sometime in November. Maybe it is traced to corona, maybe not, but the actual report came sometime end of December from China, Wuhan. And then on March 11th, it took nearly 3 months for World Health Organization to declare it as a pandemic. As we speak today, there are about 13 million confirmed cases, and India is about 9.5 lakh cases, and world over there has been about 5 lakh deaths that has happened. So this is basically the statistics, and the entire conversation that we have is around COVID. Now, what is this conversation that we are having? There are people, there are world leaders. There is someone who said, inject a disinfectant into people and would it cure yourself? because you can sanitize your hands using a disinfectant, then why not inject it and sort of cure it? So that's a world leader talking that language. There was another world leader who said, shoot the people if they are not complying with lockdown. I mean, he actually said it, you take a gun and shoot the people. There's someone who said you put the economy before lives, right? Because lockdown means business loss, etc., etc. That should not be allowed. So let people die of the virus if there is a problem. But let's put. So this is one reaction, action and reaction. I mean the the COVID virus and the reactions that it brought from leaders, world leaders, who are presidents and prime ministers and chairmen, etc., of a nation. Okay, so this is one action. You had virus attacking the stock market. This is basically the chart which shows that from 1st of January, as we speak, what was the movement? So we were close to 42,000 levels somewhere in January, and this is where the index was. And then it went down to as low as close to 25,000 somewhere in March when when it got declared as a pandemic and the, vaccine and all the conversations were very high. And then slowly things have started looking better. Has the vaccine been invented? No. Have you started functioning normally? No. But for some reason, the markets are doing well. So let's park all these information for a minute. Then comes this set of information that how does it affect different age groups? Or there is a doctor and a scientist and an epidemiologist in all of us, okay? Then how do you spend your time? What can you do for the society? Which organs does the COVID affect? Does it affect the old, the young, the children, men, women? In India, we have given BCG vaccine, so maybe that is why Indians are doing better. Then there is this Ayurveda, homeopathy, the grandmother's medicine that is coming. So there is plethora of information coming your way, right? And then if you Google, I mean, like Shakespeare says, the light of my darkness. I mean, you Google, there is every day, I'm sure each one of us who's listening to this call is getting, or by the time you finish this program, you would have had 3 or 4 videos or information that has come to you, how to be, better adapting to COVID. So what am I driving at? This episode of COVID is making you become a scientist, a researcher, a predictor of markets, of when the vaccine will come, what should be the economic and the political course of action that should be taken. I mean, we have opinion and information that is being shared on every single aspect, for which, as we speak, no cure is decided, no cure is determined. Everybody is juggling with different ways of handling that, and that is what is probably going to take us forward. We have no clear-cut answer that when, what, how this is going to end and what is going to happen. Now, this is a matter of 6 months. All of this is happening. I mean, all these various inputs, or the collection, the collage of pictures that I have shared is basically coming from an episode that has basically happened in the world somewhere between end of December 2019 and say about July 15th. That's about 6.5 months. This plethora of information is in this short period of 6 months. A pandemic has got affected. The last one, there were 2 opinions. Is wearing a mask good or not wearing a mask better? So, there was a lot of debates, and I'm not putting all of them. There was herd immunity being discussed. There were plenty of things. Now, what is the reason to bring COVID into discussion? We are discussing it enough. You are, over information on COVID is there. Do I have a view on COVID? No, I don't have a view on COVID. Does it have a bearing, a relevance to our behavior when it comes to investing? Yes. All of this information that is coming to us because of due to COVID, for COVID, by COVID, is making us take decisions, action on every aspect of our life, including investing. The lack of correct information, but over information, makes you take decisions on the food that you should consume, on the way we should sanitize ourselves, on our hygiene, the business opinion, the political opinion, and the investment decision. So such events bring the biases in us out. I mean, this was quoted because it's a very topical thing, and all of us are discussing this, and all of this, what I've shown in the last 7-8 slides, the images, is something we are going through and will continue to go through. So if one such event can bring a plethora, a range of such emotions. What could happen in the investing journey that each one of us is doing from 30 years or 25 years to about 50 years? In the 25-year period that we are investing, how many such corona cases, how many such situations, maybe due to corona, maybe due to a political crisis, maybe due to a natural disaster, maybe due to a war, or maybe due to a scam or something completely economical like the global financial crisis that happened in 2008. Many coalition governments, a lot of things could happen in that 20 to 25 years of investing journey. And can we stop and reconsider or move away from investing every time? And each time an event happens, be it COVID, be it a global financial crisis, be it a coalition government, be it a war situation, every time this set of thousands and thousands of information will come your way on every aspect of how you should look at your portfolios, your life, your job, your earnings, your investment, etc. And that is something, the attempt of the session is to say that why do these things come out and impact us? Not so much the event per se is impacting us, but the monkey within, the behavior which we are not able to control is bringing out these kind of actions when such episodes, such extreme events happened in life. Why do we say, coming to the point, why do we say, why do we listen to a session like this? Why do you deal with HDFC securities? Why do you invest in stock markets or mutual funds or even a bank FD? Why do we all do that? We do that for broadly 3 to 4 reasons. Every individual. You need to save for the rainy day, very simply put. So the life expectancy is increasing. And why do we all do that in our sessions when we talk? You can see that it's in the case of India, about 220 years. The average life expectancy in 1800 was about 25 to 30 years. We are all aware of it. And as we have grown, economy has grown, medical science has advanced, the life expectancy today is 70 to 75 years, and it is increasing. And you can see that from the 1920s. So in about the last 100 years is when the life expectancy, the first 100 years, it was very low. And then the next, the 19th or the 20th century is when the life expectancy really increased. And therefore, I know I'm not going to, live for, work forever. Earlier, I wouldn't complete my working years. But today you will complete maybe 20 years, 30 years post your working years. And therefore you need to save for the rainy day where your ability to earn is largely curtailed. You can't work forever. That's precisely the point, right? You do have a lot of bucket list. You will want to travel, you will want to, do certain activities, maybe want to set up some social causes for which money is required. There are various amount of things that as individuals we believe that we wish to do, and a working life does not enable you to do monetarily and from a time perspective, and therefore you plan for the retirement and to do a lot of these things that genuinely gives you joy. If you're a sports person and you retire and you want to run an academy to coach children, etc., you need money to set it up. I may want to start a small school to help underprivileged children. Somebody may want to do a old age home. Someone may want to just see the world and travel and have 2-3 holidays here every year and stay in the best of hotels. So there are different desires, and for that you need to make money. There is always, as you age, you have unexpected medical expenses. And once you leave a job, if you are in a job and if you have an insurance policy, etc., you tend to miss that, and therefore you need to spend for that. Inflation, we study inflation in textbooks. If any of you are, people who studied economics and you understand economics, then you will know what inflation is. The cost of living keeps going up. But interesting to note, this is the last 20 years price changes in the US, the United States of America. I don't think they are any different. The biggest cost, we were taught inflation by probably using the examples of vegetables and fruits and automobiles. But those are not the things that is costing us. The cost of inflation is going up. The cost of inflation is going up in college education. The cost of inflation is going up in childcare. The cost of inflation is going up in medical costs. And I live longer. So if I said that longevity is there in the life, The longevity also comes at a price because you're taking medication, you're getting treated, and that is why longevity is increasing. Apart from taking good child, health in the early days of life, etc. So you need to live a comfortable life even after your years of retirement is over. And then there is the last one, which is the joy of giving. Like I said, maybe to give it to your legacy, to your children, grandchildren, or to do something very good and make your name be remembered by people who needed that help, etc. So these are some of the few things, or largely covers the things that people usually invest and save for. Obviously, live a good life while I'm working and while I'm earning, and then post that also I'm able to continue with that. Now, to combine the two things, one is to say that all of this is possible provided my personality and my behavior. I'm not a Boris Becker, I'm not an Andrew Whitaker, and I'm not a Dhirubhai Ambani either. I'm somewhere in between in terms of my ability to make money and invest money. But what I can control is my personality trait when it comes to investing and the biases that I carry. And therefore, how do I understand? Now, let me tell you upfront that a bias is something that exists and we have survived with that. Please understand, it is not wrong. We are what we are because of those. This is my personality, this is my trait, this is the way I look, this is the complexion that I have. This is the color of my skin, this is the color of my hair, this is the color of my eyes. These physiological features are inherited. It's a combination of the genes of the parents I'm born to. Similarly, the personality and biases are something that you have lived with, and before you became your adult, before you reached your adult age, and before you take the decision on investing, it is all part of us. Now, let me tell you, there are two parts to this as well. There is one which is common to majority of us, and there are certain ones which are very, very generic and special to each individual. And we will speak about both as we go along. What do I mean by saying that? All of us have these biases, and most of them, what we are talking today, three of them largely. There are many investing biases. I mean, you can say about 100 of them, which are, when you combine them and see, there are still about 25 to 30 of them. I'm going to talk about three most important biases that you should know, but don't look at this as an academic session. This is not an academic session. This is, the idea is to make you aware as a listener, as an investor, and to see how I can understand this personality of my mind and control. So if you are somebody who's with a very short temper, people do tell that, why don't you take a deep breath, why don't you take a glass of water when you get very angry, or you count 20 backwards. There are various ways, and I'm sure all of us are aware that, I mean, at some stage, if you have ever met, seen videos, or even been to a behavioral counselor or psychologist or anyone, these are some of the things that we will say. Or people have this, what you call OCD, keeps washing hands, etc. So there are ways to control that behavior, and people guide you. They don't say that you're bad because of that. So similarly, investing bias is something that we are born with, we were brought up with, and it's part of our DNA and genes. And therefore, awareness is more important than believing that how can I cure it. This is not a flu or pneumonia or a heart ailment where a surgery can cure. All I can do is be aware of it. What are the three? So these are the most important three biases. And I'm repeating the word bias. Don't think it is bad. Why I'm repeating it is to convey that it is there in you, it is there in me. Though I'm talking about it, it is there in me. It's not that I am above all of this. Even I have my share of biases, right? But awareness makes me behave better when I take my investment decisions. So what is recency bias? I think I covered it in detail when I spoke about the COVID aspect. Now, the most topical thing in our mind today is COVID and all the problems in different aspects of life associated with COVID. So when I go for an investment decision, COVID bears a very important, it has a very important weight in my mind. Now, what does it tell me? It says last 2 months markets have done well, but 3 months before that markets sharply corrected. Now, I do not know whether, COVID is going to go away. Vaccine, people are saying different things. We do not know. So should I invest? I've been doing an SIP. Should I stop that? Because it's not looking good. My SIP returns are not great. What should I do? It may take 2 years for a vaccine to come. Economy is in shambles. And I heard my neighbor has lost his job. So all these events, oh, will I something happen to my job? All of these events were, and 6 months back, did you have any of this? Did you think that COVID is going to impact you? Did you think the SIP that I'm doing should be stopped? Did you think that the stock market is going to correct? And you didn't think, neither did I think, nor did the best of fund managers in the world think about it. Fair point. But when I did an investment in 2019 July, that is 1 year back, what did I tell my advisor? With what interest did I start doing an SIP? I'm using SIP as an example because SIP is something, systematic investment plan is something that we will do on a recurring basis, on a month-on-month basis. Or let's say I started a PMS, or buying a few stocks that HDFC Securities recommends. Now, when I did all these decisions, the decision timeline was 10 years, 15 years, my child's education, buying a property 5 years down the line, or planning for my retirement, and I'm 20, 30 or 40 years old, and when I retire at 55, this is what I would want. So how can a 6 month event, which we don't know when it will end, but it is largely logical to think in 20 years, this is not going to be the reality. That if COVID is going to remain for 20 years and we are all going to live like this, then we should not be doing, a lot of things that we are doing. So the practical view is, yes, it is impacting me today. There is a lot of noise around it, but in future, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, which is what my plan is. My investing goals are for that period, not for the next 6 months. I'm not retiring in 2020 December. I'm retiring probably in 2040 December or 2035, or my child who is 3 years old is probably planning to do, not probably, will definitely go for higher education when he or she is 20 or 21, which is another 18 years down the line. So COVID is today's event. What I'm looking for is something that is 20 years from the date. The second thing, so that event, so when something goes wrong, something big has just happened. That's the best way to summarize that. Please be mindful that not let your decisions, positive or negative, affect by that event that has happened. Social proof. We are slaves of social proof. Now, this is something what I meant by saying that we have all got this and we survived because of it. When we were evolving as a human race, if you didn't do social proof, what is social proof? Doing what you are doing. We feel comfortable to cross a very tough traffic signal when many people are crossing the road. I mean, I have told, my grandmother, when you cross the road, once she aged, that, please wait for more people to be there at the signal so that when you cross the road, you have somebody to help you. So you feel confident in that group. There are a lot of people, so the cars may not come very fast. But if I'm alone, will a speeding car miss me? So do what others are doing. Fly to safety. Now, in the hunting environment that we evolved from, if I did as a lone wolf or a lone elephant, the chances that are I'm not surviving today to have this conversation. The human race would not have evolved if we didn't copy what others did for our evolution. Because you came from the jungles. In the jungle, if there is any noise, you run to safety. You don't go and attack the animal. You hide and save your life. So the tribe of humans survived and evolved because we could do that. So running to safety, herd mentality is something that is there wired in us for millions of years. Can I kill that? No, you can't kill that. Can you be aware of it? Yes. In the world of investing, however, doing what everyone does not help you. The simple mantra in investing world is do the opposite. When everybody is buying is not the time to buy. When everyone is selling is not the time to sell. But it is extremely difficult to do that. I mean, I may give you a lecture, you may read books, you may hear for far more experts than I am on this topic, but it is very, very difficult to control this emotion of not doing what others are doing because it is wired in us so much, and which is why a Dhirubhai Ambani is born or a Warren Buffett is born, because they are one in million or one in a billion who is able to do something when very different from what others are doing, and hence they become successful investors. Action bias, I mentioned COVID and the recency factor. And therefore, when this plethora of information comes to you, when something big has happened, you are tempted. There is an itch within us to take an action. And I'll show this image, but I'm sure all of us have seen that ad of iStar, which is doing. They're saying sometimes doing nothing is good. And in investing, there are a lot of times that you should do nothing, and that is the best thing to have. Now, there is an action bias. There's a monkey within me. That monkey's behavior is to jump from tree to tree, from stock to stock, from mutual fund scheme to mutual fund scheme, from broker to broker. The monkey within me has to be controlled. What is this? This is the social proof, the herd mentality. If you are a student of maths, and if there are 10 sheep I have taken to graze, and if one sheep falls off a cliff, and the maths teacher I'm asked that how many are left, my answer will be 9. But if you're actually a student of behavioral finance, or if you're a student of psychology, the answer would be 0. Because if one sheep jumps off the hill or the cliff, all the others will jump off. That's why it's called herd mentality. It's the behavior. There is no lone wolf in this pack. Everyone, because even, and how can everyone be wrong will be the question. So if there is one lone wolf who is wondering why is everyone else jumping, you will start questioning yourself that maybe I am wrong, others are right. How can everyone be wrong about lockdown? How can everyone be wrong about sanitization? Not necessarily that everybody is wrong. Everyone doing the same thing means, like obeying a traffic signal, not drinking and driving, having a valid license to drive, going to school to study, giving an exam. This is what everyone does. That doesn't mean that is wrong. But when it comes to investing, you should not do what everybody is doing, because usually the behavior, and this is data from hundreds and hundreds of years of investing behavior study, that it is best to be the lone wolf, the one which stands out. Don't get carried away. And this is what we do. So what is the solution? Be aware of it. Should I be the lone wolf? Should I do what others are doing? If everybody is saying buying a stock, should I go and buy that stock? Or should I ask myself, if everybody is selling, sell a stock, should I sell? What is my time frame? Is COVID going to go away in 20 years, or is it going to go away in 2 years? If so, why should I stop my SIP, which is meant for 25 years? So avoid herd mentality. Now, what happens when you avoid herd mentality? If you see this journey, this is the journey of Sensex 40 years. Sensex started in 1979 in the month of April. March 31st, 1979 at 100 points. And we know where we are today. We are close to 36,000 levels. So it has gone up to that extent. So if I invested 1 lakh of rupees, that has become about 3.5 to 3.6 crores. It touched 4 crore in the month of January. It has corrected. But you can see the journey. It has not been by any stretch of imagination a easy journey. It crosses 1,000 mark. You can see the Harshad Mehta scam that happened. You had the global financial crisis. In between, we had a lot of political turmoil, 13-day Atal Bihari Vajpayee government, then 1-year government, a lot of problems, scam, global crisis of 2000, the September 11 attack, lot of terrorist attacks we have seen across the world, etc., etc. Then you had the 1992, economic revolution started by Manmohan Singh and P.V. Narasimha Rao. So all of these things. In the meanwhile, you have seen some natural calamities and problems, be it earthquake, be it tsunami, various other parliament attack, a lot of things that we have seen. And after all of this, and unfortunately or fortunately, we didn't see a pandemic, but that also, next 5 years, that will also come. That between 1979 to 2025, we also saw the COVID pandemic. In this journey of 40 years so far, you didn't have a health disaster to talk about, but we had everything else. This event has brought the health disaster also. So after all of this, so what the way to present this is that in spite of all this, it has given you a 3.5 crore kind of a valuation. 100 has become 35,000. That is 350 times. It has gone up in a matter of 40 years. And that is what is important. So at each of these red dots that you can see, people would have behaved like a bakri, herd mentality, the sheep mentality would have come in and people would have exited. It is difficult to beat that mentality and stay. But if you stay, the fruit is sweet. Just to give a perspective, to understand, in 1979, gold was also 100 rupees for a unit, for a gram. Gold was about 937 rupees for 10 grams. So approximately it was 100 rupees, and Sensex was, 1 unit was 100 rupees. As we speak today, we know gold is 40,000, 42,000 for 10 grams. So roughly about 4,000 rupees per gram. And you know where 1 unit of Sensex is, it is 35,000 is 1 unit of Sensex. So while we get very excited with the returns gold has generated in the last 1 year, please understand the power of capital markets, the power of equity investing, because equity is about business. You're owning good businesses. Businesses grow, that is when economies grow, and you make money in the process. This is a small example to reiterate a very live example why herd mentality or social proof is something that you should avoid. We have a fund. I represent DSP Mutual Fund. So we have a fund called DSP Equity Fund, and I've used it because it's got the longest history. It was our first fund we launched in 1997. So it's got a 23-year-old history. How many times have you seen this fund giving you poor returns? There are 5 or 6 occasions where the returns are poor. By poor, I don't mean 4% and 5%, in excess of 25%. So am I telling you something that has not already happened? No, I'm putting the data in front of you to say that in a 23-year journey, one is I showed you Sensex, which is a 40-year journey, and a fund which tries to manage, beat the Sensex. My aim is always to beat the Sensex because then I deliver alpha to my investors. I do better than the market. 69% fall happened in 2000 to 2001, that period when September 11 attack, etc. happened. 2004, there was a 26% correction. And in the last 14 years, there were 4 occasions where it fell more than 25%. It has fallen 3-4% every time. That I'm not counting. I'm saying which is significant. We said COVID is a significant event. Good or bad, different thing, but a significant event. This is definitely significant and bad from an investor's perspective. More than 25%. If your 100 rupees has fallen to 75 rupees, this has happened. 6 times it has happened, including this episode where it lost 30%. So 35%, 29%, 56%, 31%, 69%, and 26%. After all of this, if you had invested 10,000 rupees steadily, month on month, the valuation is today close to 2.8 crores. This is 1 month older data. So if I do June end data, maybe it will be 2.75 or 2.76 crores or whatever is that number. Even if it is not, and in 23 years, investing 10,000 rupees per month, I have roughly invested 27 odd lakhs because 1.2 lakhs is what I invest every year, and 23 years is roughly, 27 to 28 lakhs of rupees I've invested. 28 lakhs invested is worth almost 2.8 crores. In spite of, that's the most important. I mean, if I had a board and a chalk, I would write and underline it. In spite of all these severe corrections of 60%, 40%, 30%, and we do that, right? We see that example. Like we always say, when you see those, sports for people who are probably a little challenged or handicapped, etc., we do say that in spite of a handicap, in spite of not being able to study in this circumstances, he scored, university topper, or and we read stories about such kids and such children who walked and went to school. There was no school in the village that I was growing up, or I had something major happen to you and still you wrote the exam. So you appreciate that. The same concept please use in spite of such market turmoil, and it will happen. The important part for you to realize as investors is, do you think it will happen? Yes, it will happen. It is definitely going to happen. I will not be able to promise that in the next 5 years, there will be never an episode where the correction can be more than 20 to 25%. But even if that happens, if you are keeping your, like the Arjuna, the proverbial Arjuna, the eye on the bird and wanting to reach that goal, you will be able to reach the destination. What should you focus? This is a beautiful equation, which I'm sure we have studied, and maybe those of you who have school-going children probably are teaching your kids also. It is a formula of compound interest. Now, in the compound interest formula, there is the principal which I invest. There is the rate of interest which you get, either if it's a bank FD, then you get the rate of interest, or if it's an SIP or a mutual fund or a stock, you get some return, which is capital gains plus dividend. N is the number of, R by N, the interest for the period that, and T is basically the time that I'm investing. All of us, this initial principle is not in my control. It depends on how much of money I have today. Maybe to begin with, I have a lakh. Maybe 5 years or 10 years down the line, maybe I'll have a crore, or I might get a bonus, I might sell a property, whatever it is. You can't control the R. That is what is determined by market function. RBI has reduced interest rate. Banks will give you less interest rate. You can't go to a State Bank of India or an HDFC Bank branch and fight and say that give me higher interest rate. There is an interest rate that is decided by the Central Bank of India, which is the central bank in terms of Reserve Bank of India, and the banks basis that decision decide their interest rates and they pass it on to their customers. There is no point in fighting for it. If it is only 3%, it is 3%. But there was a time when it was 7%, and there was a time when it was 15% as well, a few years back, maybe 15 to 20 years back. So it happens. And then the time that you can, in all of this, all these variables, as you call it, and a student of maths will say that these are variables. Principal is a variable, rate of interest is a variable, time is a variable, but time is not a variable when it comes to practical investing like what we do. We can continue to invest, we can decide and control that. But what happens is, as it is rightly presented here, we focus on the R, the rate of return, and we do not focus on the time that you need to invest. The more time, that's exponential. It's very difficult. Again, our brain is not wired to understand exponential growth. 27 lakhs becoming 2.8 crores is something that you cannot visualize. That's not possible. We are not, as human beings, wired. We are wired for linear progress. 28 becoming 30, 30 becoming 32. But actually the 32 then becomes 100 over a 5 years or 7 years period of time. That is called exponential growth. We are not, as human beings, wired for exponential growth. There is a lot of linear thinking, which is baby steps. That sixes and fours is not something we are wired to think. We are only wired to think ones and two, singles and two runs is what we are wired to think. And therefore, we miss that the longer the time that you invest, the better it is. Now, by any chance, if you don't like the mathematical formula, then let me give you a more real and wildlife or a nature's example. The gestation period of an elephant is close to 18 to 20 months. It is the mammal which carries its baby the longest, and therefore it comes out with a 100 kg small elephant, a baby elephant. So gestation period. And if you see a small cat, it gives birth to a kitten. It is also a mother. The kitten is very piara and lovable to its mother, as the baby elephant is to its mother. Just because the baby elephant is bigger in size doesn't mean that the kitten loves its kids any less. The cat loves its kittens any less. However, the cat carries its baby for about 60 odd days, roughly about 45 days to 60 days, about 2 months. And you get a kitten whose weight is about 100 or 200 odd grams. So on one end, the gestation period gives the elephant a 100 kg baby, and the kitten carries it for much shorter period of time, 1/10 the time that the elephant carries its baby. That's nature's way of doing it. But gestation period gives you larger and bigger output. So either you are mathematically wired, use the compound interest formula, you love animals and you're happy to learn from nature, then look at the elephant and its gestation period to decide that you need longer investment, longer term for wealth creation. And for that, short-term news and noise should not be something that deters you from that period. The second or the most important one, another one, in fact, I have used all the 3 biases. I'm coming to the last one, which is the action bias. We are all probably, some of us may love the game a lot, the game of football, but those of us who don't you probably enjoy the game also know what the game is. Penalty kick is a very important aspect of the game, and it is studied and shown that 85% of the penalty kicks are, scored. That the penalty taker, the shooter, actually kicks the ball and puts it into the net, and the goalkeeper is usually not able to save the goal. Now, there was this gentleman who's a student and a professor in behavioral finance who studied 286 penalty kicks. And he decided to support an argument on action bias. And again, please understand this is there in us, all of us. He said of this 286 kicks, only 6% of the kicks were saved by the goalkeeper. All the 286 kicks, barring maybe 5 or 10 of them, the goalkeeper either jumped to the left or to the right. Now, the analysis was that this guy jumps to the left or right, but something close to 60% of the penalty kicks, which the penalty shooter takes, he hit it straight into the net. So there are three ways to kick the ball. One you kick to the left, one you kick to the right, or you kick it straight. And the time is a fraction of a second between the way the penalty taker kicks the ball and the goalkeeper has the time to save the ball. So your actions are simultaneous. He is kicking and the goalkeeper is jumping. Now, in that split of a second, invariably, the gentleman who's trying to save the goal, which is the goalkeeper, jumps to left or to right. And in many, many cases, the shooter, the penalty taker, hits the ball straight into the net. So the conclusion this professor made was, if the goalkeeper stood straight and didn't jump left or right and try to save the ball, he would have saved many, many more number of goals. But the problem, and then post this, he asked the goalkeepers that why do you do this? So the answer that he got was, if I don't jump to left or right, I risk my career because it will be interpreted as inaction. I didn't do anything to save the goal. I just stood straight. खड़ा होके क्या कर रहा था? Why didn't you jump? You should have jumped. No, at least कुछ तो करो. So this becomes the narrative, and therefore they are saying that we will do this even if we know that standing straight will help you, because if I jump and don't save the ball, doesn't matter. But if I don't jump and if the goal is scored, it becomes inaction. Now there is this goalkeeper hidden in every one of us. We need to understand, just because COVID has happened, just because markets have corrected, just because my neighbor is saying something, just because news media and CNBC is saying something, we do not have to react. We can stay quiet and not act like the 5-star ad says, do nothing. By doing nothing, he didn't move and the lady moved out and that saved her life, right? So no action is actually good action. No goalkeeper, no monkey, no need to jump left or right. If you have taken a right decision to invest for the long term, keep in mind the time, keep the elephant carrying the baby in mind, and let the time horizon be completed. I will show you one small, I don't know if it's very visible, but this is a small study on BSP's mid-cap fund. Now, this again says that if you did not sort of do anything, you made money. So in 2008, when the markets corrected significantly due to the global financial crisis, if there was someone who had done a 60 installment SIP, and in 2008, as it has happened today, markets had severely corrected and there was temptation to take action. What was the temptation? Redeem from the mutual fund, stop the SIP, etc. If you didn't redeem and if you left it as it is, and speak today, after another market crisis which has happened due to Corona, out of your 60 installments that you made, 52 of them made you returns which is more than 12%. And 12% in India in the last 10 years is not a small form of return to have got made. And only 8 out of your 60 installments nothing made negative return. They made maybe between 8 to 12% return. So all 160 installments made return more than 8%. 52 of them made returns more than 12%. What is the point I'm driving? Don't do unnecessary action. If you don't have to take an action, don't take an action. Doing nothing will save the goal, and you don't have to jump left or right. Just just to reiterate that story, I like to end the presentation with a small story. This is the story of a farmer, of a village and a farmer where there were about 100 odd farmers in that village, and they were facing severe drought. And because of the severe drought, they started worshipping Lord Shiva and praying to him that rain should come. And then someone in the village who knew astrology, the wise man, he comes and says that, Shiva is very angry with all of you, and there will be no rain that will happen because the rain will only be happening when Shiva plays his damaru or his drum, and he's very angry with you, and he's not going to play the drum for the next 12 years. This is his decision. So there is nothing much you can do. Now, of the 100 farmers, 99 farmers listens to this and decides to stop farming. They will not till the field, they will not do anything, they will not manure, they will not plow the field, nothing they will do. They just go to while away time thinking that for the next 12 years, nothing is going to happen. And there is this lone farmer, the lone wolf, the lone elephant. He doesn't listen to the astrologer, he doesn't hear any of this. He says, my duty is to do farming and I will do farming. I do not give up, any importance to what the astrologer is saying. Whether Shiva will play his drum or not, I do not know. I will continue to do my job. And he continues to he continues to do his farming and keeping his field good, etc. And at the back in Kailas, Kailas Parvat, Shiva is saying this, and Parvati Devi hears this. She tells Shiva that, like every wife would want to poke a hole in the husband's thinking. She tells him that, what makes you so sure that after 12 years, when you are going to play the drum, you will have the practice to play the drum. You may have forgotten to play the drum. So what makes you so sure that you will be successful at playing the drum 12 years from today? You are giving these commands like a big hero. So Shiva gets nervous. Obviously, wife is saying something like this, and he starts doubting. He says, okay, let me see whether I can play the drum. It's a valid point that you have raised. For 12 years, if I don't play the drum, I may lose touch of playing the drum. And therefore, he starts playing the drum. Now, the rain gods do not know whether Shiva is doing at the instruction of Parvati or he is doing it on his own. They do not know. The rain gods bless the village and the rain starts pouring down. And then the only person who gets benefited is the farmer. Story, fiction, not a fact. Believer in Shiva, non-believer, does not matter. Moral is, you continue to do what is expected out of us from the investing field, which is to stay invested with the long-term destination of wealth creation in mind. Rain gods will align in helping the farm prosper. On that note, Shyam, I will pause. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing in all the details. So we are running short of time.
Yeah.
So we won't be able to take any questions, but we do have two, specific questions. Probably I'll get in touch with you. I'll pass on it to you so that we can get the answer from you and reply it back to the person who has asked it. Yeah.
Sure.
So thank you everyone for joining in. Because we are running out of time, we would like to conclude this webinar over here. And once again, thank you for joining in.
So should we?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Sure.